Good afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show, and I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for everybody in the comments. I see you, Terry Murnane. Good afternoon to you also. For everyone out there, please, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like, share, subscribe button, hit the notification button as well. If you're watching on Rumble, hit the like button, hit the Rumble button if you can. And if you're watching us right now on X streaming live, please hit that repost button and share this out to all your friends, your neighbors, your family, and those low information people that you know that are stuck in that bubble, because this is where you need to come to get informed. Now, my guest is going to be someone who's got a riveting story. But before I get to that, obviously, I have to address this 900-pound elephant in the room. Clearly, in the last 24 hours, as you could tell, Ingrid Lewis Martin, former aide to Eric Adams, his right-hand sister, so to speak, who's been with him probably the longest I know of anyone, was indicted on a new set of charges. So there's a couple of things I'm going to read to you, because then we have the Crumbs and Chips episode of this. You know, the book Crumbs that John McCarthy is working on, the chapters in it never end, because there was another incident on top of this, which is, I can't believe it happened. But you would think what I'm about to tell you is a movie script or it's a movie. No, it's real life. And it's Eric Adams, who he's the best dressed mayor since Jimmy Walker, the most corrupt mayor since Bill O'Dwyer, the most incompetent mayor since Bill de Blasio, the shortest mayor since Abe Beame. And what else could I say about him? So let's just read this. This is from New York One. This is from Erica Brosnan. Mayor Eric Adams, longtime confidant and former chief advisor Ingrid Lewis Martin was indicted Thursday on new bribery charges. Prosecutors say that between March 2022 and November 2024, Lewis Martin accepted more than $75,000 in bribes, including $50,000 that went into her son's account in exchange for fast-tracking permit approvals. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office says she also conspired to have the city's Department of Transportation withdraw support for a street redesign of McGinnis Boulevard in Brooklyn, which would have included protected bike lanes in exchange for $2,500 and other benefits, including a speaking role on the TV show Godfather of Harlem. Lewis Martin, who served as chief advisor to Adams between January 2022 and December 2024, was previously indicted on charges including bribery and conspiracy. Lewis Martin resigned from the Adams administration last year, but while she is no longer at City Hall, the longtime friend of the mayor is a volunteer for his reelection campaign. There's another volunteer that we're going to discuss in a little bit. Thursday's indictment charges her with 4 counts of fourth-degree conspiracy and 4 counts of second-degree bribery receiving, according to Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Her son, Glenn D. Martin II, City Deputy Commissioner of Real Estate Service Jesse Hamilton, a former Democratic state senator, and 6 others were also charged in the indictment. As alleged, Lewis Martin consistently overrode the expertise of public servants so she could line her own pockets. While she allegedly received more than $75,000 in bribes and an appearance on a TV show, every other New Yorker lost out, Bragg said in a statement. In a statement Wednesday, Lewis Martin's attorney, Arthur Aidala, same attorney for Jeffrey Epstein associate Steve Bannon and the other Jeffrey Epstein associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, said she would plead not guilty and maintain she has always served the city with integrity. A City Hall spokeswoman on Wednesday said Adams had not been accused of or implicated in any wrongdoing. This is unbelievable, really, and it affects other people. So just so you could see this, we have this clip of her on this show, just so you can see what she was wasting time and money on and what she was trying to do. Here, look at this.
Hi, Grumpy.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going good. Lumpy. You know, seeing that show, that's exactly what Eric Adams' Crumbs crew believe it is. They think it's the 70s in Harlem. So they think that they could just, racketeering, extortion, bribery, all that stuff works. We're going to get to more bribery in a little bit. There's a whole thing with that. So There's another article that I wanted to read to you from the City and State, which involves this, which is even crazier. Okay. So Eric Adams' son made a zombie rap film with Argento's son. Tony and Gina Argento are reportedly going to be indicted by the Manhattan District Attorney Thursday. Their son and nephew, Tony, has an artistic relationship with Jordan Coleman. And Jordan is Eric Adams' son. This is unbelievable. This is from William Brederman from the City and State. The son of Broadway Stage's co-owner, Tony Argento, who the New York Times reported will be charged Thursday in connection with a corruption scandal involving the Adams administration, produced a vanity film project directed and starring Mayor Eric Adams' son, Jordan Coleman, City and State has found. Coleman's striking back billed as a zombie thriller was produced by Roland Studios, a firm owned by Anthony Argento, son of Tony and nephew of Broadway Stage's CEO, Gina Argento, both reportedly set to face indictment by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Business records show Roland Studios operates out of Broadway Stage's Green Street address in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. It is unclear at this time whether the two Scions ties will in any way bear upon Manhattan District Attorney's case against Tony and Gina Argento, nor is there at present any evidence or allegation of wrongdoing by Anthony Argento or Coleman. John Ciaffoni, Gina Argento's lawyer, told City and State he knew of no plan for Anthony Argento to surrender himself with his father and aunt. Ciaffoni, however, did say he believed the indictment pertained to the family's push to stop a bike-friendly redesign of McGinnis Boulevard, which he characterized as a First Amendment issue. The city reported in 2023 that Anthony Argento contributed to the Klan's Keep McGinnis movement campaign, which briefly succeeded in blocking the proposal with the help of Ingrid Lewis Martin, indicted in December, set to face additional charges. The Times reported last year that Bragg's investigators seized Gina Argento's phone and noted that she had multiple meetings with Lewis Martin. In 2022, Adams appointed Gina Argento to his newly created Film and Television Production Industry Council, intended to provide recommendations regarding city support for the movie and TV industry. Records also show Broadway Stages has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars lobbying city government during Adams' tenure. Attempts to reach Coleman by phone proved unsuccessful and did not immediately respond to an email. A person who answered the phone at a number listed for Anthony Argento hung up. An email sent to inboxes at Roland Studios received no reply as of publishing. Roland Studios, which specializes in bringing Asian films into the American market, does not feature striking back on its website. However, the director of photography of the project listed Roland Studios as its producer, as did co-star and film composer Kenneth Wilson on a social media post, allowing himself posing in front of a backdrop featuring the Roland Studios and Broadway Stage's logo. A film of a clip of the film, Coleman, who also raps under the moniker J.O., posted to YouTube, shows that also co-stars his uncle, Bernard Adams, Eric Adams' brother, who formerly served as the mayor's head of security. The New York Post reported on the project in 2023, and the tabloid credited Roland Studios for stills featured in the article. The Post did not report Roland Studios' ownership nor its connection to Broadway Stage's or the Argento family. It did, however, say that the film cost $10,000 that Coleman scrapped together and shot on Staten Island. Roland Studios' website does not list any Staten Island locations, but Broadway Stages controls the former Arthur Kill Correctional Facility in the borough and rents it out as a filming location. That's interesting. New York City Campaign Finance Board records show Anthony Argento donated $2,000 to Adams' campaign in late 2022 and the McGinnis Boulevard fight. So this is quite a web we weave here. So first of all, looking at this indictment, because it also has Tony and Gina Argento, clearly there's a quid pro quo there, pay for play, whatever you want to call it, with Ingrid Lewis Martin. I know her son's involved in this too, but my problem here, Alvin Bragg, is you stop short, because this is a RICO case. It's RICO. And the big fish, the one everybody wants, the man, I mean, let's put it like this. The $75,000 Ingrid Lewis Martin was involved in, Jesse Hamilton's involved in this. Does this benefit them, or does it benefit their boss, the mayor? Eric Adams not being on this indictment is the same thing that happened when Damian Williams, who had credit with indicting Eric Adams, But in that case was a RICO case, and it left everyone else off and just narrowed in on Eric Adams. We know that there was Tim Pearson involved there. There's people involved in that the building department commissioner office. There were all kinds of people involved in that Turkish money laundering scheme that they had with Eric Adams. Yet they only put Eric Adams on an indictment. Damian Williams also did this with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? They indicted Ghislaine Maxwell in a RICO case, which she's doing all these things for who? Just herself? Clearly, there were other people involved. So it stops short of who really is pulling the strings behind the scenes. So we'll credit Alvin Bragg for actually doing his job here, but it falls short. Eric Adams, you read this, he's clearly involved in this, yet he's not indicted. And it's unbelievable. But it's what? It is an indictment on Eric Adams and his administration. Yet more people getting indicted, getting in trouble, not all over the place. And if you think this was the kicker yesterday, wait till you see this one, okay? Because this came out of the city with Katie Honan, all right? Eric Adams' advisor, Winnie Greco, handed a city reporter cash stuffed in a bag of potato chips. The city reported the incident to law enforcement and was promptly contacted by the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's Office. Greg B. Smith and Yoav Gonen wrote this, but that bag, this is it right here. She put money in an envelope and a potato chip bag. So now this chapter of the book will be known as Crumbs and Chips. Crumbs and Chips. This is unbelievable. If this was a movie, you would believe this. But I can't believe this is real. This actually happened. There it is. So, and then you have to hear in this article, because Winnie Greco, no relation to me, by the way. I don't know this woman. She's not part of my Greco clan, so I don't know where she got that last name. But Winnie Greco says that this is something that's in her culture, which is 100% false. They do not do this in China. This is crazy. So let me read this. The former top city hall advisor and current campaign confidant to Mayor Eric Adams attempted to give money to a reporter from the city following a campaign event in Harlem Wednesday. Just so you, and again, why Eric Adams hasn't jettisoned this woman who's being investigated still by the Brooklyn Eastern District is beyond me. I mean, Eric loves having these people around him. He has no one to blame but himself. Crumbs. The failed payoff, a wad of cash in a red envelope stuffed inside an open bag of hers sour cream and onion ripple potato chips, was made by Winnie Greco, a longtime Adams ally who resigned last year in her position as the mayor's liaison to the Asian community after she was targeted in multiple investigations. She resurfaced recently as a consistent presence in his re-election campaign. Why does Eric Adams have this woman around him and he knows she's being investigated? That is the question here. Why? Why? On Wednesday, City Hall reporter Katie Honan spotted Greco near the announcement of the opening of Adams' newest campaign office in Harlem. Greco later texted Honan after the event when she spotted her again and asked her to meet across the street from the campaign office to a TD Bank. Greco and Honan walked to the Whole Foods next door. While inside the store, Greco handed Honan the open bag of chips with the top crumpled closed. Honan, thinking it was an offer of a light snack, told Greco more than once she could not accept the chips, but Greco insisted that she keep them. There's something wrong there. I mean, what the hell? The two parted ways before entering a nearby subway station. Honan opened the bag and discovered a red envelope inside stuffed with cash, at least one $100 bill and several $20 bills. The reporter then called Greco and told her she could not accept the money and asked if she was still nearby so she could give it back. Greco said she'd left the area. Honan told her she had to take the money back, and Greco said they could meet at some point in Chinatown. The reporter then texted Greco, "I can't take this. When can I give it back to you?" She did not get her response. In an interview later Wednesday, the city asked Greco what her intentions were in handing money to the reporter. In response, she said she made a mistake and she apologized over and over again. I made a mistake, she said. I'm so sorry. It's a culture thing. I don't know. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad right now. I'm so sorry, honey. So the Chinese culture says you put money in an envelope in a potato chip bag and try to bribe reporters. And who knows how many other times she has done this, because this is not behavior that's a one-off. She then called the city back, advising that we call her attorney, Stephen Brill, adding, can we forget about this? I try to be a good person. Please, please, please don't do it in the news. Nothing about me. I just wanted to be your friend, Greco added. I just wanted to have one good friend. It's nothing. One good friend? Trying to bribe him? Brill denied that his client's payment to the city reporter was nefarious in any way. I can see how this looks strange, Brill said, but I assure you that Winnie's interest was purely innocent. In the Chinese culture, money is often given to others in a gesture of friendship and gratitude. Winnie is apologetic and embarrassed by any negative impression or confusion this may have caused. So there's a little bit of a deflection because, again, I don't know where in any Chinese culture you hand money off to bribe people. I think that's a crime in just about every state, any district, anywhere in this country. After the city informed the Adams campaign about the interaction with Greco, campaign spokesperson Todd Shapiro said Greco was immediately suspended from the campaign, not terminated, just suspended. Sounds almost like the New York City Police Department. We are shocked by these reports, Shapiro said. Winnie Greco holds no position in the campaign, has been suspended from all volunteer campaign-related activities. Mayor has had no prior knowledge of this. He has always demanded the highest ethical and legal standards, and his sole focus remains on serving the people of New York City with integrity. Just like he had no idea Tim Pearson tried to get contracts like Where's My Crumbs with the migrant shelters, which Lewis Martin today, Ingrid, she was in her indictment and mentions trying to get contracts out of the migrant shelters. Following the interaction at Whole Foods, Honan brought the chips bag and envelope with money back to the city's office and handed it over to her editors. The city then contacted the City Department of Investigation and DOI, anticipating possible law enforcement investigations. The city did not open the envelope or count the money inside. DOI received allegations from the city and declines further comments, said Diane Struzzi, DOI spokesperson. Later Wednesday, federal prosecutors from the Office of Brooklyn's U.S. Attorney Joseph Nocella contacted the city's lawyers, and on Wednesday evening, an investigator retrieved the chip bag containing a red envelope and cash. The Brooklyn U.S. Attorney has been investigating Greco since early last year after the FBI raided her homes in February 2024, following the city's reporting on illegal straw donations raised at Adams' campaign fundraiser she'd organized. The DOI is also looking into the allegations uncovered by the city that she pressured a campaign volunteer to do personal tasks for her in exchange for getting him a city job. The article just gives you more of her role and how she knows him and all that, and the Department of investigations. But that is unbelievable. I see Eric Sanders chiming in here. Says, my philosophy is that you don't accept anything from anyone. Nothing as a police officer, nothing as a lawyer, including accepting legal fees to the detriment of the client. I don't know why she did this. I don't know why you would even attempt to give money. This is an indictment on Eric Adams yet again. Why this woman has not been jettisoned from his circle after being investigated over and over and over again. It's beyond. I don't understand this at all. I don't understand this at all. And you see on the screen, I have Chris Sommerfeld's post about Ingrid Lewis Martin is being charged in 4 new indictments alleging she took $75,000 in bribes to steer migrant shelter contracts to preferred vendors, attempt to block the McGinnis redesign and other conspiracies. And it goes into it right there. And between her and Winnie Greco, who's the longest standing, we'll say, advisors with Eric, why are they around still? You know you're being looked at. Trump gave him a lifeline for many reasons. Clearly, I pointed them out. And here he is allowing the same thing to happen all over again. The main problem here is there's never any accountability. Letting Eric Adams walk this is what happens. Not indicting, I don't know what they're waiting on with all these raids they did on Tim Pearson, on Philip Banks, on David Banks, on Terrence Banks, on Eddie Caban, on Jeffrey Mandry. What are you waiting on? If you're still, if the DOJ is doing this at the behest of Trump somehow for the woman rink naming rights and the Ferry Links Casino in the Bronx that he wants, where he's going to make $100 million, that's unbelievable. And this guy might go down as one of the most corrupt people to ever be president, if that's what they're waiting on. A lot of evidence points that way, allegations point that way, but yet there's still a chance to fix this. This Brooklyn prosecutor should go after Winnie Greco. It is unbelievable that this is, and again, Emil Bove was the reason that case with Eric Adams was dropped. And I stated here, and I'll stick to it. If Eric Adams was removed or stepped down way back in September of last year when he was first indicted, almost a year ago, you would have had Jumaane Williams as the mayor. And this goes to you, New York City residents. If you would have had Jumaane Williams, you would have had your small, slight touch of socialism. And right now, you would be clamoring for Curtis Sliwa, a conservative Republican who's common sense. He's not some nut job conservative. He's very much almost like a liberal conservative, which is how you get elected in New York City. He would be your next mayor, hands down. Instead, you had many people, some like someone in the Bronx, running around. We can't live in socialism. I left the Democratic Party, all this nonsense you're spewing. We can't have this. And then what happens? Eric Adams doesn't step down. Kathy Hochul never steps in. They don't have this hearing they should have had with city council to remove Eric Adams. You also never have him getting indicted and being held accountable, right? So he got indicted, but didn't go through a trial. He would have been found guilty. This nightmare would have been over. You would have had Jumaane Williams for a small amount of time, creating a small amount of damage versus what you're facing now with Zohran Mamdani, who's about to become the mayor, hopefully not, and could cause a ton of damage over a long period. And the same people you hear today that are calling him all these names, I wonder if he gets elected, will they be doing that or they'll be inviting him to WABC studios in New York City? We'll see if that becomes anything, because once you're the mayor, everybody wants to be your friend. So right now they calling him a terrorist and those other crazy stuff when he's not. Sorry, he's not. He's never been accused of anything like that. So there's a lot of hyperbole. They made this guy into a superstar. But if you would have indicted him and let him go to trial, Eric Adams would have been gone. You would have Jumaane Williams, and now you would have been clamoring for Curtis Sliwa. Instead, you're probably facing many years under a socialist, another one who people call communist and point this stuff out, but you had Bill de Blasio prior. All he's going to do is bring in Bill de Blasio's people. Yes, I don't like his policies, no, but I'm looking at his policies, not at his religion, his race, like many others do. Dog whistling from the Midwest, dog whistling from certain New York City radio studios. It's ridiculous. But Curtis Sliwa is your guy. And just to cap it off, here's a point from John McCarry. So I want to play this because John McCarry chimed in this morning from the scene of the crime in New York City, by the way.
You are the company you keep. You are. That's it. It's a reflection of you. More corruption out of the Eric Adams administration. What are we to think? Just every appointment he has is a corrupt, low-integrity individuals who are self-impressed, trying to line their own pockets? But no, not Eric Adams. No. That was just the Biden's DOJ going after him because he said something. Get the F out of here. This is disgraceful that this guy is still in City Hall. Kathy Hochul should have had the balls to remove him. He should have been indicted. Trump should have never weighed in on this. Another slap in the face to New Yorkers that this guy's still the mayor in New York City. We should have had Jumaane Williams in anyway. And then if Jumaane Williams would have in, Curtis Sliwa would have won hands down, because your people would have saw you need to stop voting for Democrats, because look what they're doing in the city. Disgraceful. You worried about socialism? You're living it right now, you idiots.
I 100% agree with John. Many are low information in New York City. You are living on you're actually living on the corrupt socialism. It's so bad that it resembles that show Godfather. It resembles that time period in Harlem, which Eric Adams, who he idolizes those people. That's what you got. Special Hagen actually something says here. She says maybe they were trying to distract from the Lewis Martin indictment. The bribe and the chips bag is just bizarre and stupid. I don't know. That is still crumbs and chips. I don't know what that's. I'm just saying to you, with the whole crumbs and chips episode with Katie Honan, if they did that to a reporter and they did that at that moment, what else has she done? Because remember, there were also a lot of allegations and whispers out of Con Sofrito in the Bronx. There were envelopes going back and forth, whether it was from whoever, police department officials, Eric Adams administration officials, rappers, gangsters, all this stuff, giving money. So it sounds like an opera. And then we heard more. You heard more allegations spreading into one police plaza. There's detectives that were complaining about handing over envelopes and not getting promoted, allegedly. So again, this is all in the same circle. This is behavior that's been going on, in my opinion, for a long, long time. And finally, you might get some semblance of accountability. Not what I really expect, though, because truly, Eric Adams' removal, indictment, I mean, this guy is I don't know what to say. This is disgraceful, and it's unbelievable that this occurred in the last 24 hours, actually. And yet, I'm on I believe Corey Pegues came on the Finest Unfiltered podcast with John and Eric, and he stated something. He said for mayor, and he's I believe, a registered Democrat. He said anyone but Eric Adams, and I believe that statement to be true. Although I would add the caveat, it has to be Curtis Sliwa. And that's my take on this. Little long-winded with everything, but it's a lot of news, and I want to jam it in a short amount of time. So now I'm going to get to my guest, who has his own corruption story that goes on in New York State. But he's also an activist, and he does a lot of work, and his work needs to be recognized. So enter the stage, my guest, Marc Fishman.
Thank you for having me, Sal, and thank you for giving us the forum to speak out against corruption and discrimination.
Yeah, I mean, I figured I set the stage by laying out all this corruption it's close to you. It's not as close as, let's say, others in New York City, but, I mean, that is ridiculous, and it's kind of the blueprint of what you personally had to deal with. So why don't we say, I want to ask you first and let the audience know, who are you, what you've done in your career, what your group does, and then we'll get into the logistics of everything you've been through on the other side for doing that.
Sure. My name is Marc Fishman. Born in New York City, and I'm a disability advocate. I was rammed by a van from behind in 2013 in June, and had a traumatic brain injury and a lot of nerve injuries. Broke my toe, knee, shoulder, and I have occipital neuralgia, which is the headache disorder. I have 2 neurostimulators inside of me, and basically, I'm lucky to be alive. Van was speeding by a school zone. I was dropping off my 8-year-old daughter, and I had one of my twins in the back. My kid's car seat cracked. My daughter slipped under the front seat, and I'm lucky to be here. I've had high blood pressure since. I have a neurostimulator for pain on the left, a neurostimulator on the right for sleep apnea, and I'm a cancer survivor. And it's nice to be around to breathe while so many have brain bleeds or strokes. I've been fortunate to have medical intervention to keep me around.
That's great because full disclosure, my father and my nephew passed away from glioblastoma. So when it comes to these brain injuries and brain stuff, and that random thing, that's a cancer that just you don't even know how you get it. It just pops up, and it's basically like a death sentence. So thank God you're still with us. But you had this. This isn't something that came naturally. This all happened due to this one incident that somebody decided to run you over, and then everyone wants to act like, oh, okay, well, we'll just forget about that. I don't like that kind of stuff. People need to be held accountable for their actions. So, but your story is quite interesting as well, because there's a whole part of this, because your activism and you getting out there led to other things happening, other corrupt things happening. So why don't you get into a little bit of that?
Sure. So I'm a disabled father of 4 amazing kids, Joanna, Jonah, Aiden, and Sky, that I have not been able to see. since December 2019 because of disability discrimination in the Westchester family court mafia and failure of the court to accommodate my disabilities and punishing me for my disabilities, not hearing, not remembering. And it's very hard. I was hit from behind by a speeding van, June 10, 13. I was on a drop-off line. I didn't do anything wrong, here I am in court, being jailed. The judge says I faked my memory loss, or being given an oral order. I have tinnitus, ring in the ear. Don't hear. So instead of a written order or allowing a note taker into the courtroom or giving us real-time transcription like you're giving me on this show, the judge says, no, you remember when you want to, you hear when you want to. So that resulted, Sal, in a federal lawsuit in 2018 against Judge Shower, New York Court Administration, the state, for failing to accommodate. You're over here, and we have a law. Most people aren't aware of it. Cuomo signed it. It's 2015, Sal. It's called S as in Sam 5533B. If you are hard of hearing, or if you are hearing impaired, New York State courts have to provide you with interpreter or real-time transcription. They call it CART. Instead, Judge Shower, Nancy Barry, the head of the courts, back then Judge Shankman, other judges, Judge Peachy said, we don't accommodate you because you didn't prove you were disabled. No, my doctors did, and the doctors they made me see for 19 forensic examinations for social, psychological, neuropsych, who all told me he's hearing impaired, all told me he has memory impairment. So while Democratic politicians like John Fetterman, who also had a stroke, right, gets real-time transcription at his desk, you give it to me on this show, Netflix gives it to us on TV, other TV stations, I can put it on Zoom and Microsoft Teams. No, you can't have it, Marc Fishman in Westchester Courts. Matter of fact, you can't have your note taker come in. Matter of fact, you can't have a stenographer. You can't have anyone. You know what? You could write. I have cubital tunnel syndrome in both hands. I can't write. Can I use my iPad to record? No. Instead, Judge Shower jailed me for 3 weeks. My daughter ordered off an Amazon account. Judge Shower said there was an order of protection that said I can only send gifts on holidays. So I sent gifts on holidays. My daughter used an Amazon account of mine. And Judge Shower says, I told you there were no holidays the past 10 months. I said, Judge, there was Easter. There was July 4th. There was the kid's birthday. Mr. Fishman, maybe in she moved the microwave, your effing family. Those are the holidays, but they're not. 3 weeks in jail. Jail for what? I told you there was no gift giving. I said, Your Honor, your written order here says send gifts on holidays. My daughter went on Amazon. What's the big deal? 3 weeks in jail. 3 weeks in jail hospital because I have 2 implants, and obviously if I get punched, I'm dead. They shoot electric all the time. And in the jail, they said I'm hearing impaired, but Judge Shower didn't. So that federal lawsuit with Judge Ken Karras resulted in an order, Sal, July 16, 21, against New York Court Administration, ordering communication accommodations. Okay, I didn't win any money. Well, the transfer had to buy 1 communication accommodations. So fast forward that today, because I went after the court judges, they criminalized parenting. They charged me for violating an order of protection years later in 2018 for an unserved order of protection verbally stated, to stay away from my ex-wife except for supervised visitation. So on December 15, 18, I picked up my $500 day supervisor, Ann Elliott. My disability driver drove us there. The judge doesn't let me drive when I visited my kids. And my supervisor went to my ex-wife's house. So I was 4 hours away to pick up my kids, my autistic kid with disabilities, and was denied. Went to the police station, made a report. Instead of accommodating me, instead of allowing my cognitive aide appointed by the court to speak, because back then I was in full cognitive rehab at Dr. Brown's and speech rehab, and in a much worse state than I am now. They separated me from my aide, and the cops like, why aren't we arresting you? I said, arresting me for what? He pulls out a 28-page order. He says, read it. I said, I can't read it. I need my specialized occipital neurology glasses. I need my cognitive interpreter. Here's my medical bag. Here's my traumatic brain injury card. Here's my implant card. Oh, I don't have to see those. I don't care. Excuse me? I said, give me a pen and paper. I'll try to write. No, we're not giving you anything. He comes back. We're not denying your aid. Nothing. It's like, oh, this is the biggest visitation order I've ever seen, 28 pages. I said, yeah. I said, every other Saturday, I get visits with my kids, 10 to 5. You want to arrest me? It's now noon On Saturday, the 15th. Last visit was on the 1st. Comes back, says, we're go in the back. Let's go in the back, mean. It comes back half hour later, we'll place you under arrest. Arrest for what? A visitation order. There's a supervisor. She said, that's supervisor. She's there. So that resulted in a trial in January 20. And what happened? Even though January 20, we're supposed to have enhanced discovery, where the cops, the DA give you everything, the DA withheld the cameras of the police precinct. The DA withheld the audio recall. The DA withheld the questioning and answering. The DA withheld the fact that the cop refused to sign the disclosure. As a matter of fact, the DA withheld so much that Letitia James then investigated this cop 2 years later under a malfeasance report from Robert Gazzola, the chief of police in New Rochelle. Okay, all this while continuing to persecute me, okay, for not filing an order of protection, for not going on a property. At that trial, without any evidence and without being able to hear in court, because I couldn't take the witness stand, they didn't have real-time transcription. I couldn't read lips, that far away. I was convicted of violating an order of protection that I never got, okay, and attempting to violate. A month later, okay, I was supposed to get sentenced. The DA said, no, I want order of protection for the kids. My attorney said, wait a second. He was convicted for violating order of protection that he didn't get verbally with the ex-wife. What does that do with kids? No, it's patterns with kids. 8 more hearings, never sentenced. Okay, that year. Okay. Meanwhile, I have cancer surgery to remove tumors. I have my stimulator replaced. And here it is, a number of years later, with all these surgeries and stuff, on an inability to come back. They're like, we want to sentence you now. We want to put you in jail. Put me in jail. During that time period, sued in federal court, Sal. I did the unthinkable in January 19. I sued the cops for disability discrimination. You took away my aid. I couldn't understand you. Okay, lawsuit's still going on, Sal. 6 years and 5 months later. Fishman versus Officer / New Rochelle and the cops. And what happened in the middle of the lawsuit at the deposition? Oh, we're in federal court. The cops they're not allowed to bring in their gun, their vest, their bullets. My attorney says, where's the camera? Where's the audio? Oh, it's here in our desk drawer. It's been here for 4 years. Really? You got it? Oh, what does it say? The cop tells my disability aide, Mr. Fishman didn't commit a crime. Mr. Fishman didn't have intent to commit a crime. I really don't think he committed a crime. No crime was committed. Oh, gee, what about the exculpatory evidence? What about all these discovery laws? Oh, you're Marc Fishman. You sue the judges in Westchester for failing to accommodate your disabilities, and you win against them. Oh, you got to be guilty no matter what. So then we find out, Sal, we got a pre-Christmas present in December. Letitia James, the Attorney General, okay, announces misconduct report against 30 some odd cops, the only one in Westchester, under law enforcement misconduct, pattern misconduct. A new law in 21 is Lane's last year, and he was terminated because of misconduct. Oh, we didn't know about that. Wasn't in discovery. They hid it, right? What does it say? Pattern false reports, pattern lying, pattern misconduct. Cannot be trusted. Shuts off his cameras, shuts off his vest cam. Suspended for the last 2.5 years. Oh, really? Well, no one said that to us. So here's the catcher. We got this report. Why aren't I in it? Letitia James issued roughly 30 reports, Sal. Half of them have all of the 1983 false arrest, malicious prosecution, and discrimination complaints against the cops. Oh, why didn't you do it? Well, Letitia James was defending Judge Shower and Michelle D'Ambrosio, her court attorney, at the same time she's investigating Schlesinger. So wait a second, why aren't I there? Initially, they said, oh, you weren't within 2 years. Schlesinger refused to give you a disclosure of all the exonerating evidence. You're supposed to investigate. You don't. And that was within 2 years. Your trial was in 2 years. Why don't you investigate? Oh, Mr. Fisher, you should hire your own attorney. I should hire my own attorney. Aren't you the Attorney General? Wait a second. Didn't you represent Judge Shower? And, for discriminating against me, not giving me the accommodations? By the way, the appellate division in February of 2020 ruled that I can be near the house, on the house property, near my ex during supervised visitation. And they still won't dismiss the charges, right? An actual order on the family court side saying Mr. Fishman's to stay away from the home, the school, the work, except for supervised visitation. What does it say? Oh, you got to order in federal court against Westchester Court and the judges. You're never going to win here. You got to lose because you're disabled. I'm disabled. You're supposed to accommodate disabled people.
Yeah.
We thought New York's the disabled friendly state. It's not. It's California. It's Colorado. It's Nevada. Okay. If you're disabled and you are in Westchester Court, you have no chance. They don't accommodate. They punish you for being disabled, and they punish you when you exercise your right to sue in federal court. What's a shame here is Letitia James is supposed to be the civil rights enforcer When I wrote to her, okay, 3 years ago and said, this discrimination going on in Westchester, she said, I cannot help you. I don't see a case. Well, she's investigating Schlesinger. And Sal, here we talk about corruption for the mayor. I can't comment on that. I don't know anything about it. But I can comment on Letitia James. Let's talk about the big fish, Sal. Today, Letitia James' financial award against our president, who I think is one of the most disability-friendly presidents out there, okay, got tossed. $550 million got tossed, got thrown out, excessive. Okay, it's unjust. Why is she prosecuting ex-presidents for nonsense? Why isn't she prosecuting the judges in Westchester for disability discrimination, not accommodating a disabled person? My case isn't isolated. If you're disabled, they don't give you an accommodation. They embarrass you in court. They just, their own neuropsych report said my memory was 4% of other 44-year-olds years ago. The judge says I can disregard it. You remember when you want to, Mr. Fishman. You told us you took your kids to Epcot 2 years ago, and you told us all about it. But when I asked you why you were 5 minutes late to dropping off your kids last week, you smile like you don't remember. And guess what? I didn't. And my advocate, okay, who was there, Donna Drum, God bless Donna Drum, who was worked in the law office of Bowie's, David Bowie's, who defended Gore, would stand up and say, he doesn't remember. You're not looking at the medal. He doesn't remember. You're not giving him a note taker. You don't give him a written transcript. You give oral orders. He's not going to remember. You're setting up to fail. He remembers when he wants to. 3 weeks in jail.
This is unbelievable. This entire, what you just said, it's strike. I mean, the courts itself like to cover for themselves a lot of times. I mean, these judges, I wouldn't, you know, when it comes to Tish James, it would make sense to cover some people because it's like I don't know who the judge, his name is, or what party affiliation he belongs to. But I bet you they're in the same club together because it would make sense why the attorney general doesn't want to do anything with the judge. I think you could also have sanctions on the attorneys involved, meaning these prosecutors that came after you. I mean, this is a discrimination against someone with disabilities. And I could tell you, I've spoken to other attorneys. Eric Sanders here in the comments. I've had John Scholar on, who specifically mentioned the New York City Police Department. The number one thing they do is discriminate against people for medical reasons. So they love doing this. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's like a bully thing, a browbeating thing. They love doing this to people that are A, disabled, B, have medical issues. C, they say, well, go back out there and go to work. You know, what are you talking about? You clearly are disabled. Like you can't fake what you're having. You can't. Yet, and you have the stuff to back it up. Yet they claim that you're not disabled. And on top of it, this officer not handing over that discovery is the make or break for your entire case, that he was under investigation. This mirrors the Roger Stone case, where they brought in Steve Bannon as a witness. Now, what the government never disclosed to Roger, who Steve Bannon perjured himself on the stand, because first at the House committee, Steve Bannon said that Roger was not any access point to WikiLeaks or whatever that was going on at that time. And then on the stand, he reverses it in the court. But they never disclosed to Roger or his attorneys in any way that Steve Bannon was being investigated by the federal government for the Build the Wall scam. That would have changed a lot. It was never brought up. And of course, in this kangaroo court, Roger was convicted. But that's why he was pardoned and all of that, because of things like this. So I've seen this where they don't disclose something that you have to. You just have to, whether you want to or not. I know the government likes to stay tight-lipped. It's a court case. You have to disclose everything. You have to. I have my own issues right now with disclosure in my own civil case against the police department. But you need to disclose everything. So why wasn't this done with you? And are you going to seek any sanctions against these people? And what do you do at this moment right now? Like, how do you move forward? Do you need help with like a legal defense? I mean, this is crazy that this is going on.
Feel free to go on our website, NewRochellePoliceAbuse.com. Certainly people can donate to defense funds. We'd appreciate it. But definitely, I think that more reporters have to look into what you just talked about, Sal. Before I mention it, were you aware of the Law Enforcement Misconduct Unit of the Attorney General's Office? Has any press reported on it? After Floyd in Minnesota, the state legislature, the governor, and the Senate came up with a New York program. it says law enforcement misconduct. The police chief of the 500 police bureaus in New York State must, M-U-S-T, report misconduct for any one cop or employee with 5 or more misconduct complaints in 2 years. 5 or more in 2 years. Okay, my guy had 40. Okay, 17-year cop, right? Okay, the worst of the worst. Most cops are good. God bless the cops. Cops in New Rochelle? No, we need federal monitors. Okay, the cop in my case on his arrest report, on the question was, here it's an order of protection violation alleged, Sal, right? The question says, is the person supervised? Is the supervisor present? What does Officer Celestial say? Unknown. Sal, on the cameras, the 9 hours in the police precinct, he calls my supervisor Ann Elliott's supervisor. What do you mean unknown? Sal, on the bottom where it says is video, audio present? Blank. And Sal, who's his supervisor? You guys might discuss about this. His supervisor is suspended officer Sean Cocaine Kane. For those of you who are aware, Sean Kane, supervisor in narcotics, supervisor in the police station, was caught on tape on his own vest video in June of 24, planting drugs on personal trainer Ivan Harper's car. On his own vest. His own vest. He signed the supervisor. He did the booking report. In my case, booking report is, wait a second. You got Officer Cocaine, who was immediately suspended. And you got Officer Schlesinger, who was made multiple false reports. Okay, you got Officer Schlesinger, who doesn't follow orders. You got none of the police misconduct report given to us. Okay, and now you have a public investigation. I want to say it again, public investigation, because we won the fight. I want to thank State Senator Rivera, for assisting me. We won the fight when the Attorney General's office would not disclose the FOIL, the Freedom of Information request, on the investigation of Schlesinger. Well, guess what? Thank you, New York politicians. All the investigations on the law enforcement misconduct unit are public pattern, no interagency privacy. You get it all. What do we get? Oh, yeah, there's 40 other instances. We only investigated 5. Wait a second. You don't name my case? No, we didn't have time. You investigate him for 2 years and 9 months. What do you mean you don't have time? How come you're not putting my case in the bottom? It's disclosing it's a pending federal lawsuit. We don't have to. But you did it for 9 cops in New York City and reports that went Tish. Who did my report? Oh, Tyler Nims. Who's he? He's the head of law enforcement misconduct. The head of law enforcement misconduct doesn't disclose my case. Why? Oh, you're representing Judge Sharon D'Ambrosio in a discrimination case against me. Don't you think you need to disclose that? Right?
Yes.
So wait. So wait a second. Why aren't you disclosing it? Oh, because then the federal judge would look at you and say, "Wow, pattern discrimination. We think that Officer Schlesinger and Kane were acting at the behest of Judge Shower, but we don't want to link it, and you can't get FOIL because it's quote unquote a prosecution." So here we have this law enforcement misconduct investigation. Sal, did you ever see Letitia James do a press conference? You ever see her do a press release? On December 24th, she announces roughly 30 some odd cops, the worst of the worst. Okay, detail this. In my situation, Officer Lane Slash had 5 instances. In one instant, he goes to a Nassau hospital to see his mother during COVID. He flashes a bag. The hospital's on total containment. They're on ventilators. No one going. He flashes a badge. He says, "I want to see my mother." You can't go in. You don't have a mask. You're not cleared. You're going to contaminate other people. You're a cop. He goes in, touches his gun, goes right in the door. Goes to a second security checkpoint. He says, I'm going to see my mother. What? Goes right in. Goes to a third one. Okay, he's finally seen his mother over there. They grab him and say, "Sir, at least put on a mask. You have all these people going to die from COVID. Put on a mask." No, I don't have to. I don't want to. Quote, right? Police eventually come, escort him out. Does a Nassau prosecutor charge him? No. No, why not? You and I broke into a hospital with trespass. We get arrested. Why not? No. He puts in there, "I don't care, and I don't have to." You don't care about the public? Or you don't care about disabled people? Because everyone at hospital is disabled. Okay, then another instance out in the report. He pulls over a disabled driver of a van, and he says, "This is a commercial van. I want to see your license." There's no commercial plates. Why are you pulling the person over? "I want to see your license. I don't like the way you're driving a commercial van." It's not a commercial van. Residential. No. Give it to her. "You're lucky I'm not in the mood to give you a ticket." The person complains. He said, "This is a false arrest. There's a false prosecution. No grounds to pull him over." And the best one is we have a disabled man who left the scene of an accident to go to the hospital. He's about to have a heart attack. Okay, Schlesinger comes back later. They calmed the guy down, resuscitated him, brought him back to his house. and he says, knocks the door. He says, I got to arrest this person. They left the scene of a crime, a hit and run. I said, hey, there's no hit and run. I left my name on the plate. I had to get my dad to the hospital. He was having heart palpitations. And the African-American disabled father says, please, brother, give me an accommodation. Don't arrest me. I was in the hospital. Here's my hospital papers. And Officer Slasher says, why are you calling me brother? He says, well, I want to establish a rapport, brother. He says, don't you find that friendly? The guy says, no, actually, I find it insulting. Would you be happy I called you brother? I said, you find it insulting? I call you brother? My father just had a heart attack. You're insulting me over here. And yet, you read this report, my friend Sal, those of us in the disability community who are disability advocates say that's disability discrimination. That's 3 parties he discriminated against. He discriminates against everyone at hospital that he contaminated by going in there who were on extreme COVID thing. He discriminates against these 2 other people. And then Tyler Nims, Nazisha James, and Simone Manigault don't mention pattern disability discrimination. Why? They marginalize us. They don't care. Okay? Why don't they include me? Oh, because you'd have to refer it to the DOJ. Oh, you'd have to give it to your civil rights hearing. Oh, you can't do that because you'll lose the suit with Judge Shower. He'll get money. Or maybe we'll get an order that you can't do this to other disabled people. So instead of Letitia James prosecuting things she clearly investigated, she hides it under the rug and then fought like hell to say it's protected under interagency. Well, luckily, Sal, you read the law again, law enforcement misconduct. It's a public pattern investigation. Every state senator can request FOIL. Every party can request FOIL. Everybody can request the records because it's pattern. It's the cop against multiple people, not 1 or 2. But again, no press, no press. Why? Some of these cops put back to work. The law says the Attorney General has to write a letter notifying the state Senate president, Hasty, and the one in Yonkers, the nice lady, I forget her name, and the minority leaders, right? No letter. Oh, we got him to retire. You fired him. What are you talking about? You got him to retire. Why don't you write the letter? Oh, because you don't want to, because then someone will investigate it, right?
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it's sad. The state Senate gave me the Commendation Award for advocating for disabled and veterans in January 23 after I exposed how the appellate division chief Hector LaSalle denied my application for real-time transcription. And when Hector LaSalle denied my son Jonah, who's autistic, an ADA advocate, that's the order that was overturned in federal court, ordering it. Okay, but Hector's still there. At least the state Senate, God bless them, voted down Hector LaSalle saying, you can't be chief judge. You discriminate against disabled people. And, when he had his confirmation hearing, Hoyman said, your civil rights record, sir, is atrocious. You don't deserve to be chief judge. But I'm going to give you a fair hearing. Not like you did some of my clients and my constituents. One was me. What fair hearing? They just ruled you didn't prove you're disabled. I got to prove I'm disabled with 2 implants. Okay, 24 surgeries. Okay, a public report on a ram from behind. Prove I'm disabled. My doctors did that. The doctors for court did. So it's really something. It's really something. And they punish you for speaking out. They won't let me see my kids. Order protection for 7.5 years. They won't accommodate other people disabled. They marginalize them. They use it as a reason to take away custody or visitation. They make us into monsters. Other states like California have a law where you can't use disability in visitation or custody unless extreme death-like harm to the child. With accommodations, we can do anything. I have a neurostimulator. It took me off a walker and a cane. Okay, it masks my tinnitus. It massages the rear of my head. Instead, the judge thinks I'm Frankenstein because I have wires in my head. It's unbelievable.
That's the law in I believe it's California.
Right, 1 of 8 states that won't allow disability. We have the American Disabilities Act. They're supposedly not going to do this, but again, find a judge, a Republican, Democrat, independent, who's going to hold another judge responsible, not immune. Okay, they look at all the judges say, I'm not gonna go against the other judge simply because what if someone comes after me? But in 2004, the Supreme Court ruled in Tennessee versus Lane that there is no immunity from the states or judges that discriminate administratively for denying access to a court, either with legs, like Mr. Lane, You know, he was a Vietnam vet. He was a paraplegic, and the judge in Tennessee said, "You got to come to the second floor. You can have my officers carry you, or you can use those long arms to pull up the rail." The judge said, "I serve my country. I have respect that I should be able to go to court on my own. You could have court in the first floor outside." No, throw him in jail. Tennessee versus Lane. Disability discrimination requires ramps and elevators. Same thing with Tennessee versus Lane. Communication accommodations. Why are you denying me real-time transcription? All the courts have it. Mr. Fishman, you didn't prove you were disabled. And the appellate division, Hector Sal, says you're not disabled. Well, Hector Sal discriminates against disabled people. He shouldn't be chief judge in Brooklyn. It's a nightmare. It's very scary. But thank God the state Senate, with over 44 Democrats, majority said no. Became the first judge not confirmed to the Court of Appeals. And then we got Judge Wilson. God bless Judge Wilson. You know, in the case of people like me who've had visitation and custody problems, family court, Judge Wilson ruled that Happy the elephant should be able, in the Bronx Zoo, should be able to see his relatives in Africa. Okay, he's entitled to visitation. So with him leading the court, we have some hope that there can be rights for elephants, disabled people, purple people, brown people, yellow people, that will have some fairness with visitation and custody and fairness with accommodations. When we have a judge that thinks an elephant should be able to visit other elephants like himself.
Yeah, this disability discrimination, I'm just telling you, I hear a lot about. I never. Your case is this is a harrowing story. Like, it's like, I can't believe this goes on, and the fact that you have Tish James behind it. Just add this to everything else, because I know what she's covered up. You hear it all the time. She does her own crime. She runs her own criminal syndicate almost. That's kind of what it seems like. She's the highest ranking law enforcement agent in the state. So when people say she doesn't know, she knows. She could easily pick up the phone. She could find out what happens in your little town in 2 seconds. She is the attorney general of the state. She has so much power, yet she only uses it for either her friends or herself and her own agendas, like this Trump case that was the award. It was right that it should have been overthrown. I think the whole case needs to be completely thrown out, to be honest, because this was a waste of taxpayer money and time to bring this case forward to begin with. It was a vanity project, and meanwhile, the real issues, like your issue, that's a real issue. Disability discrimination is a real issue, and she just covers it up. And it's a process, and I've noticed this with a lot of these corrupt people. I hate to say it or whatever. A lot of them have a D next to their name as far as party affiliation, but I don't know if Westchester actually operates like that. It seems in Westchester, it doesn't matter what party you are. It's one big club. So these people have their own agenda, do their own thing. I mean, my heart goes out to you. I can't believe you've been put through this. And I just want to know, what is your next step right now? Are you getting any support or any politicians behind this? Is it anyone saying, what about Mark? Mark has a legit case. We need to fix this, and we need to compensate him too.
Absolutely. We've written to the governor because, she is the chief executive of the state. Obviously, Letitia James, we asked her to write to the district attorney to drop charges, and she said the law doesn't provide for that. We don't have a wrongful conviction law in this state. Clear Wrongful Conviction Act. Hochul vetoed it. Okay, you have one in California, New Jersey, Illinois. So those people who are mistreated by DAs, we finally have a prosecutorial commission going after prosecutors. They went after a prosecutor in northern New York who told the cop that he should tear up a speeding ticket because she's the DA. They forced her to resign. So we have that commission finally. But really, we need a new attorney general. We need an attorney general who represents New Yorkers going after the president, okay, for alleged fraud involved in someone's bedroom with alleged hookers. We don't care what goes on in someone's bedroom. That's between the man and the wife, and that's their business. Why aren't you protecting disabled people? Why aren't you, when you find corrupt cops, telling the district attorneys to investigate? We don't have a responsible district attorney and Judge Cachese. Let me say it, Judge Cachese. 23 years, the longest serving judge of the DA. Of course she's not going to investigate New Rochelle. Between Officer Kane and Officer Schlesinger, she has 17 years each of wrongful convictions for them. That would overwhelm her office. She's already recused from 83 cases. Should have recused from mine. Okay? Didn't. The judge won't force to. But in this case, she is conflicted. She's had Officer Officer Kane testify in a quorum. She has one of the biggest cities in Westchester, where every conviction they involve is tainted. You read the law enforcement misconduct. Go to NewRochellePoliceAbuse.com. Click on the link to the law enforcement misconduct. It's on the Attorney General website. Very detailed report, very detailed investigations. They investigate and put what they want to. They think they weren't subject to FOIL. They are. Get the records. Compare the records of what they put in the report to what they didn't. Okay? Yes, Westchester's become all Democrat. I support Democrats who support the disabled. I support the candidate. I'm independent. I support Republicans because they support the ADA. Many forget, Sal, the American with Disabilities Act, God bless, helped so many of me and my brothers and sisters, was put into law by George Bush Sr. And it was amended by George Bush Jr. Okay? And yet they get no press and no thanks. Thank you to the Bushes. Because without the American with Disabilities Act, I wouldn't have a pending federal lawsuit. And without the American Disabilities Act, I wouldn't have an award that says communication accommodations are ordered. And without the American Disabilities Act, we wouldn't get the accommodations that, with accommodations, we can be put on equal footing. You know, but
This is
New York's a promise. If you're disabled, you don't want to be in New York. There, you're not going to get accommodated, and you're going to be a tax-free disability. You're not going to be supported. You're going to be marginalized, and they don't care. They say, oh, no one's going to protect you. Letitia James could have turned down the assignment to protect Judge Michelle Shower and protect Michelle D'Ambrosio. She could have. She's done it for several judges upstate who had various problems. She chose not to. Instead, she protects them, okay, and she protected and protects Officer Slester, who has a $93,000 pension after terrorizing and discriminating against disabled people for 17 years instead of a pink slip, okay? Police chief, they say, just retired, Robert Cazzola. He affirmed in federal court there were no cameras and audio. I saw 8 cameras, Sal, okay? Oh, they weren't working, they weren't on. They're digital. What do you mean they weren't working? The DA is supposed to investigate. They don't want to investigate. This goes back 3 DAs. DA Roca, Miriam Roca, who championed conviction integrity, has their hands all over this. Okay? And so does DA Scarpino. They all could have stopped this, but because we're disabled and because we sued the judges successfully in federal court and court administration and got the order to order the accommodations, oh, you went after our judges. You had marshals serve the judges in their home. No, I didn't. Sal, I'm Marc Fishman. I'm a 53-year-old disabled, overweight man with 8 implants and 24 surgeries. But if Judge Karras and Judge Rahman had federal marshals serve the judges, I think that they felt that there was a civil rights violation. They have much more power than you and me, Sal. So Guess what? If you don't like it, Judge Shower, you can call up Judge Karras and Judge Rahman. Here's their secretary's number. I am sure they will be more professional and courteous and allow you a chance to speak, unlike the way you treated me and my other disabled friends and relatives that you marginalized, punished, and jailed because we don't remember too well, we don't hear too well, or we can't walk, or we have PTSD. And if you're a veteran who's disabled, forget it, Sal. Veterans lose their kids in family court, 80% of the time. No chance. No chance. And here's the ironic thing, Sal. The most common disability after Iraq and Afghanistan, God bless all these soldiers, God bless they served us, was tinnitus, ring in the ear, because the 3M earplugs were defective. So when you talk to an average person who hasn't gone through 5 years worth of rehab, speech rehab, hearing, cognitive rehab, luckily I had the insurance to pay for a lot of it, right? Yeah. They don't know that the servicemen yelling, they don't hear that. They think they're talking normally. But because they had bombs going off in Iraq and Afghanistan, their ears are blown. They can't hear or speak. Normally they have to go to years and years of rehab, and the government had 14 million of these plugs. You're punishing them because they raised their voice. That's the way they talk. Not threatening. Oh, Mr. You look big. Big? I'm a teddy bear. Who do you take away kids from a teddy bear? You did this because I sued the judges and got an order that you discriminated.
I want to say this, tinnitus is something that, I get it from times, all NYPD, any cop in particular, you go shooting, have to go to shooting range, that's where you'll get it. So many cops later on in life, well, I get ringing in my ears too, but that could be from going to range all those years, always having to shoot. So cops do have this issue themselves. I didn't know that they discriminate against someone who has tinnitus, which at times you hear it. It's ringing in your ear. Maybe you don't hear something so well. people have problems. Nobody's perfect, but it seems that they arbitrarily picked you and said, because you beat us in one instance, we're going to punish you for the rest of your life. Is what this? It's arbitrary, which is in line with Letitia James's way of thinking. But I think as a whole, I think Westchester has a big problem. I mean, we have Anthony DiMaggio in the comments here. He's from there. He had his own case, and he says this. He said, politics in Westchester County is one big club. Party affiliation is just for show. Republican or Democrat. If you want to run for office in either party, you go to Nick Spano for support. He's boss Tweed. And he came on the show. He discussed a lot of this stuff. You fall in line with the same problem with Westchester. He's got the police department being all corrupt there. You have the police department and the court system being corrupt. And, of course, you have the attorney general as well. I'm going to see if I could talk to someone maybe in a bigger get your story out in a bigger way, because Tish James has got to be held. She's got the ultimate say here, and her neglect of this, whether willfully or unknowingly, she's complicit in this. She should not be the attorney general. I know they voted her in. In my opinion, she's got too many criminal things going on around her that she should, like Eric Adams, step down herself. But these people are so self-impressed, Mark, as you know, that all they care about is themselves. I mean, you see her being smug about everything. It's because they're self-impressed people. They almost have like, I don't know if they have any human in them to say, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. No, they just feel that they're always right. They want to be in front of that camera. They don't care who you are. They'll step on you, and they're self-impressed. That's why they party together, Mark. That's another thing they like to do. They throw it in your face.
I hear you, Sal. And listen, New York City courts, they've all accommodated me. I don't have a problem with the Bronx, Manhattan, or Staten Island. I have a case there. You're accommodated. They're polite. Westchester, the exact opposite. It is so intense. It's almost like it's offensive to the judge that you can't hear, you can't remember. I have a neurostimulator that vibrates near my left ear. Every 6 seconds, I don't hear it out of the left ear. If a lot of people are talking in the courtroom at the same time, I'm not going to hear them. I've had neuropsychs. One in Columbia write a report to Judge Shower before doing 3 in jail for 3 weeks. Okay, on gifts, right? Gifts for my kids. Okay, tell her he's not going to remember. You took away his note. He's not going to remember. His memory test, 96% of people were 44, and that was about 9 years ago, Sal. Right? I'm going to remember better than him. He's not going to remember. He had a concussion. His symptoms are short-term memory. He might tell you a long-term story from 2 years ago. He's not going to remember. Mr. Fishman's claims that he does not remember belie the record. Judge Michelle Shower, the senior family court judge in Westchester. We need federal monitors from the DOJ. We need state monitors. You want to solve this problem, Sal? It's very simple. We have a great New York Human Rights Commission. They have no jurisdiction of the policies and procedures of state and city court. They expect state and city court to police themselves. So unless you're employee, Sal, of the court system, of office court administration, they're not going to go after you. So if you're an employee, let's say, who's a court officer, who can't hear, who has tinnitus, and they won't let him be a court officer because he has tinnitus, ring the ear, right? New York Human Rights will get involved with employment. But if it's policies and procedures that, we didn't turn on closed captioning in the courtroom, it's already there. It's just like you turn on Netflix, you click closed captioning like I have it on your screen right now, right? It's there. No. That's a procedure with the courthouse. So the court police itself.
That's
like, wait a second. The New York Constitution, the court police itself, forget about you want to lose the case. If I can't hear, which I couldn't do during the criminal trial where the witness stand was too far away, can't hear, you ain't going to get Mr. Fish, you hear when you want to. Really? Judge, are you a doctor? You a nurse? You have a medical background? Everything you say is a lie. What about the forensic guy you made me spend $10,000 for a report? Is he lying about I can't hear? What about the social worker who says he doesn't hear? I can write things in notes. What about your own supervisor? He don't hear too well. You know what? I don't have to go by any of them. Can I bring them in as witnesses to prove I don't hear? No. But Judge, you made me spend all this money to go see these specialists. I can't bring them as witnesses? No. I can't bring them in as a great parent? No, Mr. Fishman. Okay, you remember when you want to. Okay.
So you do have a question here from Samara Cohen. She's also a big she's a big fan of the show, by the way. So she's always in the comments, but she's asking a serious question here. How does Mr. Fishman see his case being resolved? What remedy is he seeking?
We are in federal court against the New Rochelle police in New Rochelle. Okay. In federal court, I find 99% of the judges are fair, Sal. Whether they like you or not, you can speak. Like you and I are talking, we don't get interrupted. We're not rude to them, they're not rude to us. Okay. It's professional decorum. If you go to Westchester Court, family or divorce or civil matters, these judges talk over you. How are you talking over me? I can't even hear. Okay. It's no decorum. What about my papers? I don't have to read them. What about affidavits? What about the medical reports? So who cares? Can my neuropsychologist come testify? No. I think what we need is a couple things. I think we need a new attorney general. Okay. She got a very big loss today. You know, and it shows she's more interested in the president's bedroom than she is in protecting disabled people. Her civil rights units don't protect disabled people. I also think we got to amend the law enforcement misconduct unit so that every single cop negative misconduct report, there's only 37 of them. So out of, 600 investigations, it's not a big one. This is the only one in Westchester, 1.1 million people. Every single conviction is reviewed on that cop by the local DA or the attorney general. Right now, just like, honor system. We write a letter back to the police chief. They tell us what he did. If they haven't fired him, we notify the politician. No. There should be a direct link to the DA to review every single conviction of that cop. If you found he did false arrests for 17 years or pattern misconduct or discriminate against disabled people or black people, it should be automatic. We don't have a wrongful conviction act, right? The third thing we need the legislature to put the jurisdiction over all operations for administration of New York State courts under the auspices of the New York City Human Rights Commission, so they can intervene and say, no, we're going to give him captioning. We're going to give him a free transcript. We're going to give him a note taker. Not say, it's policies and procedures. So, Mr. Fishman, you could sue yourself in federal court. You can't sue in state because the judges are going to, how long does that take, Sal? But if New York Human Rights has administrative authority over the courts, guess what? Then judges aren't going to discriminate because the court's policy is if the judges discriminate, they get terminated. Yeah, well, find another judge is going to do that. Find the Inspector General Porter is going to do that. She said, no, I don't investigate. We also need to change the Commission on Judicial Conduct. We have someone there, his name is Robert Temjekian, who does not investigate disability discrimination judges. He says it. He says, not my job. Go to the appellate division. The appellate division in Brooklyn under Heckler Sal says, we'll review judicial decisions, but we don't review administration. You should be accommodated, you're disabled. So who does it? The Inspector General. No, wait a second. Go to Commission of Conduct. Wait a second. Go to the appellate division. Just go to federal court. We're going in circle and circle and circle. You actually can believe it that this is the nonsense. So if you're not accommodated in state court, your remedy is you sue in federal court. That's really what you got to do. And you got to be a genius to avoid the immunity claims, but people can read it on newrochellepoliceabuse.com. And, let's pray going forward that the state legislature has the determination to continue making the law enforcement misconduct report mean something by referring the cops' wrongful convictions that they participate in for review by district attorneys. Right now, it's not a requirement.
Yeah, I definitely I second your sentiment here, and I guess I have the final question is, I guess Samara Cohn did put this on there also because I guess it's the meat. I guess she says like the meat and the potatoes of this. She mentions before. What happened when you're divorced? Like, why was the divorce was acrimonious? Because I guess this is part of the case too, right? Are they actually citing that as a reason for any of this, or they just citing that all the disability problems, saying, this is BS, so we got to put him in jail for this?
No, my divorce was in 2012. After 2 years, there was no abuse. I was not disabled. We have 4 kids. I had the kids 3 weekends a month. And there was none of this. The problem is that a family court judge who was later censured by that Commission of Conduct, in Westchester, decided in family court, not even 5 weeks after the divorce judgment was signed, that she should now allow my ex-wife to have a law guardian because my ex-wife doesn't like the terms of divorce that she agreed to on consent. So then you started the whole thing. We didn't have any law grounds. We didn't have any attorney for children. And then, less than a year later, I was in a severe accident. And once I got into an accident, everything was unfair. They said, you need a supervisor. Why don't you need a supervisor? I see my nieces, nephews. I see my cousins. Sometimes I watch them. I'm disabled. We don't take kids away from grandparents because they get old and they have a cane or they're in a wheelchair. No. It's the stigma like, oh, well, you have an implant in your head. Yeah, that took me off opioids. That took my liver readings down. That took me off dangerous opioids that could kill my body. And it does electric stimulation. So I don't feel the pain signals of 7 nerves. Oh, no, that's Frankenstein. You're a monster. I'm a monster? Oh, you have bloodshot eyes. Judge Shower would send me for drug tests, Sal. Bloodshot eyes? Yeah, I have nerves being massaged by electric. Oh, you must be a drug user. You must have alcohol. No. And then I'd come back after she watched 3 people watch me pee in Yonkers, New Rochelle. I said, Judge, you going to make my ex-wife have this? No. I said, Judge, HIPAA. Why even announce it? Oh, you're not on any drugs. Oh, this is great. Judge, I have a sensitive liver. I have neurostimulation. What drugs do you think are in my system? No, Mr. Fishman, we got to make sure we can have you here that you're not subject to drugs. I said, well, we have HIPAA laws, and sign it. Oh, I don't care. Well, have her test. Have people look at her peeing. So this is the system basically saying, oh, we don't like the fact that he had a relatively fair divorce, so let's retry in family. And then, it got so bad, Sal, that a year after the trial ended in family court, because, then they go into abuse charges. They say I abused the kids. It was the fastest CPS investigation you ever heard in your life, Sal. I abused the kids by strangling them when I picked them up from Little Jim in Scarsdale and then drove them home. Sal, my good friend, you should mention, tinnitus. Okay. I have cubital tunnel syndrome. Okay. My arm was in a cast. I can't squeeze a pencil. How the hell am I supposed to strangle someone's neck? Okay. They saw the videos in the daycare, and my kids were 4-year-olds, rough, twins, boys, being aggressive, and he did this. I strangled my kids with cubital tunnel syndrome. Really? A month after arm surgery, cubital release? I can't hold the tennis ball or the knob to open the door, but you're telling me that I strangled our twin. Really? How? Like, is this physically possible? CPS dismissed this in 6 weeks. They were pissed. But Judge Shower, 4 years later, said I abused the kids. What about medical testimony? I couldn't. So the video, no. What about allowing CPS and ACS testify? No. So what you're saying is that in Westchester, it doesn't matter what happens during the divorce. You go through the whole family court. Oh, you're disabled. Oh, you have an implant. Oh, you have neurosurgery. Oh, you got wires in your head. Oh, you can't be at your kid's loan. Huh? The fact that I have an aide or a helper only helps my ability to parent. Oh, no, if you can't parent on your own, you can't have the kids. Why? When I had 4 kids alone, I hired a babysitter or helper. No. So then they'd have me go see the kids supervised, and they'd wonder why I got injured twice during the supervision. I pulled a hernia once and got a mass on my head. Because you're telling someone with significant neuro injuries run after 3 kids for, 4 hours at the Y in White Plains, and my aide has to sit outside? Why? If I'm in the city or in Westchester, I always have an aide to make sure we help my autistic kid or help me, whether I'm disabled or not. No, but you can't care for them on your own, which means you can't be a good fit parent. Oh, I can be a better parent because I have empathy for kids. And I'm better able to accommodate my disabled son, Jonah, with autism because I know what it's like to feel disabled. And I've been able to get him accommodations over the years before they severed contact because I know everyone in the disability community. The beauty when you sue federally is that people come out and say, wow, that order is going to help all of us. Yeah, no one's denied real-time transcription anymore in Westchester. No one's denied a note taker, Sal. Okay? But Marc Fishman was, the court's supposed to be open to the public. Oh, yeah, tell it to the judges. Marc Fishman sued the judges. The marshals came to my house. No civil rights. Throughout the ADA, he goes to jail. He's guilty. Give him an order of protection for life so he'll never see the kids again. Who polices the judges? You got to fire a couple of them. You need federal monitors over Westchester. Okay? It happened in 96 when they cleaned the whole family court bench out. You need all new, and you need monitors for 5 years with a DOJ agreement, okay, and with a state civil rights monitor in place to ensure that accommodations, again, for administrative, bringing a shot for diabetes, having a ramp in the courtroom, real-time transcription for someone hearing are granted because the current system is a system that fails disabled people in the biggest court system in the country. It's a shame. It's an embarrassment. to the disabled and disabled veterans, that our own court system punishes us because we got disabled instead of accommodates us like the rest of the country states do.
This is disturbing. It is a nightmare. Samara Cohen just said, and a nightmare. And to top it off, Andy DiMaggio said that there are some honest judges in the Superior Court in White Plains, but the Westchester Family Court is notoriously bonkers. I'm going to agree with that because I'm seeing in this case, this is disgraceful. Here's another. Samara is asking you, is there any chance Mr. Fishman's health will improve? Is there any chance of that?
Listen, thank you, Samara. It has improved. I'd be sitting here 5 years ago telling a tangential story and then asking Sal what I said a minute before. And I would tell him I couldn't hear him. And I'd also tell him that I didn't speak clearly. I'd be yelling at the top of my lungs. Okay. And I'd have to go to sleep because I couldn't even stay up during the day. So, God bless Dr. Brown at the Cognitive Institute in Manhattan, who referred me for neurocognitive optical. And God bless Columbia University with speech for TMJ and tinnitus. I had customized programs where they would teach me to breathe out of my nose again and speak. I used to not breathe in my nose, so I'd get a massive headache, have to go to the hospital, get a shot. Now I can breathe, I can talk to you. Before, I'd get a massive headache. Couldn't even read a paragraph, Sal. Read 2 paragraphs, have a massive headache, migraine, gone. Okay, so, Samara, thank you. But, one of the reasons I came public is during group therapy, at Dr. Brown's with other people who had brain bleeds, strokes, lost a limb, a cracked skull. And they said, Mark, we can't even speak for a minute. I said, but I'm so afraid to sue in federal court. I'm fearful, I'll disclose everyone my medical stuff. And they said, Sal, they said, you have to do it because you can, and we can't. And, I'm alive, and I'm thankful to the Lord, and to my family, because as much as, you can say, will his health improve? It has improved substantially. I'm here. I'm on borrowed time, man. Colon cancer survivor, hypercholesteremia, the peripheral neuropathy, the nerve injuries, the tinnitus. Thank God for stimulators and Medtronic and implants. Thank God for my neurosurgeon. Thank God for my therapist. Thank God for you and others who ever speak out. I'm alive. I speak and I get to see the sunrise. So many of my people, many of my friends, that I went through therapy with are dead. So traumatic brain injury is horrible. Tinnitus is horrible. And these invisible disabilities are horrible. But, we have to advocate for all disabled. And if I couldn't talk, and if I didn't have the ability to sue these judges in federal court and expose my whole medical history, well, who would? Who would? I miss my kids. I love you very much. But, I'm trying to get you back at the same token. I don't know how many years I have left, but I'm blessed to still be around, Sal.
You stand for something. That's the most important part. That's what it is. You're standing for something right now. And they say that about myself and John McCarr and Eric Dim and Marlon and the guys at Finance Unfiltered. But you right now stand for something. You're a voice for disabled people that have no voice in New York, that they completely use these, these laws and courts and the system to break you, when all you're doing is you need a life raft. You're no longer 100% competent. There again, it's arbitrary to say who's competent or not, but essentially they're saying that we don't want you in our society. We're gonna be the judge of that. When you're a human being like anyone else, you just have other problems. And what led to what happened to you now, what happened to you, that's a modern day thing. You can't it's not like a robot. We can't just replace parts and stuff. But just because you have issues doesn't mean we exclude you from society. And they're trying to do that to you. And one of the reasons is because you went after the judge and you beat one of them. So then all of them combined on you and said, we're going to use the full weight of it. And then they have these pow meetings in the back, like they think they're masters of the universe. We all end up in the same place, and to try to go out of your way to hurt someone so much, so bad, when they need, someone like you that actually needs help, and other disabled veterans and disabled people in general, they need help. And you use the power of what you have or what you know to crush these people. I think there's a special place waiting for them in the long run, because that's not taught in any religion. Definitely not in the Bible, I'll tell you that. And if that's the way you're going to go about your life, you got to do a lot of soul searching. I have right here a couple of people. Anthony DiMaggio said Mr. Fishman should link up with a couple of fellas named James Scooch and Jose Diaz. They're always scrutinizing and protesting the Westchester family court. And
Jim
also,
Shook is a very good friend of mine. And Jim Shook is also a dad, a disabled dad, and is being denied his access to his son because he's disabled. And
yes,
he's right. He's right. It's not isolated to me. This is pattern discrimination. But I want to say, because I want to give our president a compliment, because again, most people don't know that he's the most disability-friendly president to those of us challenging state courts. This president and this DOJ, Sal, put out a bulletin saying DOJ, Department of Justice, is not going to protect administrative judges that violate civil rights and discriminate. Exactly what Letitia James should have done by not defending Judge Greenwald, Judge Shower, Judge Capici, Judge Oliver Gordon. It wasn't against one judge, Sal. I got my order against 6. They're all in the order. But what I'm saying is, our president said, we're not going to spend federal taxpayer money to defend administrative judges. Sal, those of us who have been through the system know that administrative judges handle a lot of arbitrations for auto accidents, for workers' comp, for environmental claims, for recycling violations at buildings, and they go unpoliced. One party hires them and says, oh, you're going to be a private judge, a private gun for hire. You think those people accommodate? Those people look at you and say, oh, Fishman, you got a hearing for us? Pay for your own accommodations. Have you read Title II of the ADA? You have to provide for my note taker or my real-time transcriber. No, I don't. I'm a private judge. I'm going to rule against you. Huh? So our president had the balls and had the disability commitment to say, Sal, in a letter, it's published from the DOJ, we are not protecting administrative judges that discriminate. You know what the result of that is, Sal? Less judges are going to discriminate. They got to pay for all defense. If they discriminate against people before, that's huge. There are so many administrative judge proceedings outside state systems. That's huge. Does he get any credit? No. I give him credit. Other people who torture this, we give you credit. Because it's only a matter of time before his DOJ will say, you know what? We're going to go after. In the state of Pennsylvania, they went after the court system. They didn't go after New York because the majority of people with DOJ before Trump in the civil rights unit were from New York. Oh, we can't go after New York courts. They went after Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania had a policy. Basically, if you're facing trial and you're an opioid addict, Sal, right? We're going to put you on opioid withdrawal medication so you can go to trial in 30 days. We don't give a shit that you are disabled. We don't care that you're not, we don't care you're in rehab. We don't care that the medicine is helping you get off opioid, which will save your life. We're just going to do blankets policy in Pennsylvania courts for everybody that you go on the opioid withdrawal medication, you can be ready for trial. DOJ sued. Guess what? Pattern discrimination found. They had to pay $100,000 each of those defendants. Got no press. But guess what? DOJ needs to do that with all the state systems. I think they will. I think parental rights are going to be on this president's agenda the upcoming year. We have to stop, allowing abortions without parents know about them in Virginia. We got to stop transgender kids who don't want to be changed sex to have sex change without the consent of both parents. I mean, you need a responsible DOJ. People say, oh, it's so bad. You fired the whole, Justice Department or civil rights. Well, if they weren't protecting civil rights of disabled people and the parents, they deserve to get fired. We need civil rights laws enforced for everybody.
Yeah.
Not just beautiful people, for disabled, for transgender, for people who are very religious. And so these little things don't get reported on, just like the LAMIO, because, we don't want to say how that policy changes everyone. Think about it, Sal. If you're an administrative judge and someone like me is going before you and said, I need real-time transcription, can you just turn on the screen? Or I need my note taker to help, or I need an aide to help me organize my papers to be ready for file, or I need virtual court. that judge is going to really think twice before he says no. Because if it's a private judge, Sal, guess what? He's going to have to defend himself, because Letitia James doesn't do private judges, and now the DOJ won't do it either. God bless Trump for protecting the disabled against, menacing pariah and disability discrimination and biased administrative judges.
See, Eric Sanders said, yes, family court and the matrimonial part of Supreme Court is like walking into the Star Chambers. So you people are agreeing with you, Mark. And I do commend Trump on this. I'm really fair. When he's good, he's good. Of course, I like to highlight something like, I don't know what his association with Eric Adams or why he would go that route. Obviously, it's backfiring on him. But if he's going through the civil rights part of the DOJ, that whole unit, and they're doing these things and discriminating against people like you and aiding the courts and that, then they need to all go. They shouldn't be doing that because they're violating their own oath and their own protocols and guidelines. So if as long as he keeps that up, that's great news. That's kind of what we elected him for. We just didn't elect him to be cozying up to criminals like Eric Adams and whatever else is going on there, because that's there's a whole part with that. That's the only thing I like to do. I got to call balls and strikes. I can't just say, I voted for the guy 3 times. I'd probably vote for him again. But if he was to run, I'm saying, I know he's term limited, but it's always praise them when they're good and hit them when they don't do something right. Because if we don't hold people accountable, they kind of spin off the rails. In this case, the DOJ has been off the rails for a very long time and never held accountable. So you're bringing accountability, Mark. So I guess in closing, where could people find you and get behind your claws one more time so people know?
Thank you. New Rochelle policeabuse.com website. There's some change.org petitions. There's a place for funds to help go against the system, a GoFundMe. Please, newrochellepolice.com, New Rochelle policeabuse.com. And, we keep updating it. We show the podcasts and those that are similarly, affected. Again, this is not me. I'm one in tens of thousands in New York that are being subjected to this discrimination with no one to, hold accountable. What people can do too is they can write Chief Judge Wilson, and emphasize that he needs to be a lot better at enforcing the rights of disabled people, and needs an inspector general and a commission of conduct that are going to go after judges for discriminating. Right now, if the judges think there's no consequences, they just do this unabated. Some of them have joy, like Judge Capici, Susan Capici in White Plains, and Judge Michelle Shower. They have joy in torturing disabled people. They have joy in taking away kids from someone who has PTSD or veteran. They enjoy it. They get paid $200,000 to do it. It's sick. It's disgusting. It's immoral. It's disability discrimination. And I'll end the call by saying what Judge Shower, because that's retaliation. What they did after I went back to state court. Okay, Judge Shower took away my access to my kids' records, and she said to me, Mr. Fishman, your order against me is only good when you sue me in federal court. I don't have to accommodate you in state court. I said, Judge, it's a 2-page order. What page is it on? Oh, Mr. Fishman, everything you say is false. Everything is wrong. Everything is your fault. You're the reason you don't see your kids. I said, I'm the reason I'm disabled. I'm the reason you discriminate against disabled people. Mr. Fishman, everything you say is a lie. You're a convict. You'll never see your kids unsupervised as long as I'm a judge. She said that 2018. I've never seen my kids unsupervised. I haven't seen my kids even virtually since March 21. The only way you're going to hold accountability is to fire Westchester family and matrimonial judges, bring in a whole new clean slate, and then bring in federal and state monitors under monitoring agreement. That's the only thing you're going to do it. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. They're too entrenched in the system. My youngest are going to be 18. I love you, Sky and Aiden. This is really about the next generation and other people like Jim Shook, who's got, I think, a 5 or 6-year-old, and Jose, what he's had to deal with his grandkids. I mean, they might have 10, 15 years of this. It's insane that these judges just take away access, require supervisors or spies to come in for visits for people that are great parents. And the COVID pandemic just exacerbated it. Disability parent alienation is real. And when the courts are going to allow it to be pervasive and not have any checks and balances, and when you had a DOJ like under Biden and Obama that had all New York civil rights leaders leading DOJ, gee whiz, but you sued Rhode Island courts for discrimination. You sued Massachusetts under Obama. You sued Pennsylvania under Biden. Oh, you don't sue New York. Oh, you're all from New York. Why don't you hire an independent prosecutor to sue New York? New York's got 3,000 judges, more than all the others. Oh, we can't do that because we're from New York. Oh, I didn't see that section of our federal constitution or the ADA Act, the American Disabilities, or the American. New York's excluded because we're all from New York. Oh, thank you, DOJ. Yeah, thank you, Trump, for giving them all pink slips. Can we get some responsible prosecutors that aren't biased in favor of New York? Come on. Let's hold the disability discriminators accountable.
Yep, I agree. Mark, this has been a riveting interview with you. My heart goes out to you. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm going to talk to someone I know to see what we could do as far as holding certain people accountable, especially Letitia James, who seemed to have a hand in this. And thank God you're still breathing. And I want to say God bless you and your family. And I really hope that you put your stamp on this and win, where they have to come to you and say, we're sorry, and compensate you correctly for this mess that they caused, because this shouldn't be going on in this country.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing, a forum for this, because, again, many disabled are marginalized, put under the rug or quieted. And keep in mind, the law enforcement misconduct. I want to tell everyone, go to the Letitia James website, Attorney General, look at LEMIO, Law Enforcement Misconduct Unit. There are many people that had misdemeanor or felony convictions and have no idea that their cop is one of the 37 labeled misconduct, because Letitia James doesn't publicize it. The press don't look at it, and the website's kind of confusing. You got to do a circle to look at, but guess what? You see all the ones investigated says no pattern, no pattern, no pattern. So if you had a pattern, that's a big deal. At least do a referral to Alvin Bragg from Manhattan Cops, to the Queens DA Katz for Queens, and to Chase, they do something, investigate, look into it. No. The litigants can do it themselves. You want me to do it myself? Should I just live in court? Really?
That's unbelievable. So, Mark, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Also, have a great weekend.
You too.
You keep fighting. And trust me, I'll see if we could get some more eyeballs on this, because this is unbelievable. This is man of courts. What can I say?
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you, Mark. There you have it, folks. I don't know what to say there, because it's like this is disgusting. And being one that I guess had my own case, and I've seen other cases, kind of like what happened with his case, Roger Stone's case. Roger's my very close friend. I was there, and I see similarities, how they withdraw and withhold things and don't give discovery. And you're behind the eight ball. And really, you're allowed to defend yourself in this country. And I say that to people. I mean, like I say this thing where everyone in New York City hated Luigi Mangione. He's a murderer. We got to prove he's a murderer first. But you have destroyed that guy's case by doing this kind of stuff. Tainted evidence. They're going on television describing his whole case, and it's not even in discovery. He didn't even give anything over to his lawyer. And you're walking him out with 30 people. I mean, that was just, and this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about in the courts. That's New York City. This is in Westchester. This involves New Rochelle police. And how can I say this? There it is. There's the infamous perp walk. I still can't believe that. That is how you taint the case, folks. And that's what we're talking about. Mark's case has been tainted because they stepped in and used all these measures to put the full weight of the government on top of him. That's the bottom line. And before we go any further, I'm going to have Jack on in 2 seconds. To piggyback off the last episode we were talking about the whole the unlicensed psychologists that the NYPD has hired, which is a whole nother issue. And they're illegally seeing officers and making all these recommendations. So Eric Sanders put this out right afterwards, because remember, he was on the show as well. So I'm going to state this. It said, the psychological hold, a bureaucratic weapon disguised as process. As I continue exposing NYPD's unlawful use of unlicensed psychologists, Let's not overlook a quieter but equally damaging abuse: the psychological hold. These holds are not triggered by concerns about an applicant's mental health. More often, they're based on trivial manufactured complaints, like an applicant allegedly taking too long to submit paperwork or retrieve documents for an investigator. What's really happening? The investigator doesn't want the delay reflected in their own file, so they push it into the psychological system, making it appear as if the applicant is non-compliant or unresponsive. It's a tactic too. Shift blame, frustrate applicants, create a false record of a delay, avoid internal scrutiny of investigator caseloads. This isn't about mental fitness. It's process weaponization, pure and simple, and it's time to call it what it is. There's a psychological hold that came up also right after the show. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with that, and we're going to keep you updated with all of that. You could also read it up on the Sanders Firm PC.com. That's Eric Sanders' website. Excellent work by Eric, who's probably going to be representing quite a few people in this and people that are contacting as it is. So we're going to keep you updated on all of that. So without any further ado, let's get Jack on for the producer's take. I know that was a lot to handle with that, but that's heartbreaking to hear. But what can we expect, Jack? That's New York State, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as the son, the proud son, I should say, of a father who has a disability, my dad also is hard of hearing, has had multiple ear surgeries, cochlear implant, the whole 9 yards, deals with tinnitus, just like Mark. It really hurts me to hear how his kids have literally been taken away from him. It's funny and sad in a sense, because this brings me back to a text conversation I had with Anthony DiMaggio a couple weeks ago, where I pointed out to him some of the things going on in Westchester County, Long Island, other suburbs of New York City that present themselves as being better in terms of the law and order going on in the court system there. There's actually a lot of very sleazy, under the table, weird deals going on. Obviously, Letitia James is in on a lot of it, sadly enough. So that's a situation where perception and reality couldn't be further apart. People think that New York City, the 5 boroughs, is a cauldron for corruption. New York City obviously has been ranked one of the worst run cities in America, but I would say a lot of the problems there radiate out to other areas of the tri-state area.
Yeah, and then Westchester's next door. So it's, you know, and we started the show with what a bombshell with all that stuff going on. And there's going to be more on the Finance Unfiltered tomorrow, 8:05, about all of that. The crumbs and chips saga. I mean, it's just, you think about, you're going to probably rewatch this episode and go, my God, it's that whole city is infested and infiltrated by it. You have to be dirty to succeed in a state, in a city. That's basically what this looks like. There's no other way around it. Jack, the common man and woman that's a hardworking person, you got no shot in New York City, because it only favors the corrupt and the powerful.
The timing of the bombshell barrage, if we can call it that now. We had the Clout Chaser Ball yesterday, Wednesday, August 20th. 2025 will always be known as the bombshell barrage, because we had the new revelations about Ingrid Lewis Martin, and then a few hours later, Katie Holman came out with her allegations that Winnie Greco, no relation to the man sitting to my right, offered her money in exchange for positive media coverage. It's funny how the city has really played parody off of that. I saw a post from Jose Martinez talking about how it's nice to support journalism, but that's not the method. Jeff Colton made an appearance on Mornings on One today, and shout out to the technical director in the control room who put that graphic up, the lower third on Colton. Friend of Chip Bribey, Katie Honan. How's that for a title? But you have to give the journalists here a lot of credit for upholding their integrity. As a former corporate journalist myself, I have to wonder how much this issue is systemic, widespread, and going on more universally in the Adams administration. We all know that salaries in journalism have stagnated. Reporters don't get paid a lot of money. People call it a labor of love, which it is to its core. But to reject a $250 bribe from Winnie Greco, that takes a lot of courage, a lot of boldness. So you have to take your hat off to her. How many other journalists out there, Sal? I mean, you've never been in the journalism game per se. When other journalists are being bribed, I've talked a lot in the past about this idea of selling access for positive coverage when other journalists are being bribed, whether it be through financial rewards, drinks at a bar, a trip to the Hamptons, whatever it may be, because there's many forms of bribes that I've heard about over the years. When other journalists are being bribed, how many of them do you think don't talk about the bribe, accept it, and then just kind of move on with their life, hoping to do favors to the people who rub their back a little bit? How often do you think that actually happens when we don't get to hear about it?
I think not only happens, it happens a lot more than you think. I think it's almost it's a common practice behind the scenes. But I believe here is if Winnie Greco, who says, by the way, no relation to me, you're right, thank God. Winnie Greco says that this is in her culture and her customs. I don't know where she's getting that from. You've seen a swath of Asians from the Asian American community saying, "What the hell are you talking about? We don't do this." I think this is a common practice in the Eric Adams circle. I think they've handed envelopes, like we said. We've heard about the Con Sofrito envelopes. We've heard about the One Police Plaza envelopes. We've heard about envelopes when they go to the fundraisers. All kinds of this. So to have one now in a potato chip bag, I mean, this is Eric Adams is his own nightmare. He keeps these clowns around. That's what essentially brought him down. Is the people, you are the company you keep. John McCarthy said it best. We've been screaming about this day and night. I hate to tell you people this. You need to hear it. Anyone but Eric Adams as mayor, you'll be far better off. I said this a year ago. I stand by it. You would have been better with Jumaane Williams because you would have had a socialist. You would have seen how bad it really is. Can it be worse than having this guy? I don't know. This guy is not only socialist in his ways, Eric Adams, but he's so corrupt, he's willing to sell anything out of that office, and that's meaning he's selling out you, the New York City taxpayer. But I guess he talks to Trump, so we have to keep him in there. I mean, some of these people, your head needs to be examined, really. I don't know. If you really think that guy is the MAGA candidate and all that stuff, after what you just saw in the last 24 hours, I rest my case. It's like, I don't want to pat myself in the back. I told you so, but I told you so. So keep having him on WABC radio and all these people there. 1 minute they're for Curtis. Next minute they want to say Eric. Enjoy it because he's on December 31st will be out of office. Wherever he is that night, that's the last time he's going to be relevant, other than if he's getting indicted again, because don't put that out of the realm of possibility here. That's it.
It's important to point out here that both infractions yesterday came from people who were not even on his campaign payroll. Not that he's doing a good job with the campaign anyway, and they deserve some type of monetary reward. But Winnie Greco and Ingrid Lewis Martin were both, technically speaking, volunteers. So that's one of the things that makes the infraction look that much worse. But you're right. In the same way that Eric Adams is selling out public safety by handing out egregious amounts of overtime to his friends, he tried to sell out the residents of New York City by buying the media. When something like this happens, as a former media member in New York City, I kind of look around the room and take inventory of the situation. Like, who's covering the mayoral race in what sense? What type of coverage are they providing? Are they being a little bit more strict in certain areas and lenient in others? Are they critical of Eric Adams? Are they not critical of him? Because then you start to draw conclusions based on your observations about who might be in his inner circle. Maybe they're not taking bribes. Maybe they're not getting these types of gifts, but they've still decided to fraternize with Eric Adams. Kayla Mamalak, his current press secretary, when she worked with Fox 5, was very big on fraternizing with the mayor. So you start to see some of these under the table associations that go on. And listen, we're all human beings. We all like to interact outside of a workplace setting. It's fine. But at the end of the day, you have to maintain professional integrity. Katie Honan 1000% has it. I've always been a big fan of hers, dating back to my days in New York City. I know you two have liked her work, Sal. She does a fantastic job. The City, Hellgate, some of the other nonprofit journalism outlets in New York City do some fantastic grassroots, real, original reporting. We have to give them credit. Shout out to them for having integrity because they totally deserve that shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Katie Honan. We had Kelly Grace Price on from City and State. Shout out to Chris Sommerfeld. Shout out to Graham Raymond. These are all the muckrakers.
Yeah.
This is like the muckraker platform. We love having all the journalists in there. I'm going to have Katie Honan on. I can't believe this happened. It's like, this is like a scene out of The Godfather. That movie from the Harlem. It is a scene but it's real life. And I just have something else that came up the screen. This is breaking from Craig McCarthy from the New York Post. Jesse Hamilton, the deputy commissioner for real estate services, who was also charged today in the sprawling slate of indictments, is resigning, the Post said. I guess this guy was still there. Still there. He is still there. This guy was still employed. No, Eric Adams never moved to remove this guy. He kept him there despite all of this stuff. What can I say? You are the company you keep. Eric has no one to blame but himself. All of this stuff, it's all on him.
Now, if you're Eric, like, when do you look in the mirror and say to myself, I can't be maintaining this dirty image where I'm stumbling over my feet seemingly every other day if I want to win mayor? Like, the lack of self-awareness here. I've complained about Andrew Cuomo lacking self-awareness. I think Eric Adams probably takes the cake for really championing that award. I mean, he goes out to the Hamptons, South Florida, Vegas to get campaign contributions. He doesn't have any moral or ethical boundaries. He's polling in at 10%. Most people in this lifetime have some ounce of like personal pride. I'm going to represent myself in a good way. But Eric Adams has absolutely none of that. As a matter of fact, when he doesn't win re-election, the first thing he's going to do is go on conservative media outlets and say that his reputation was unfairly painted by the media, how he had too many people working against him to win an election. I mean, the guy has every single excuse in the book, and he's already written 3 drafts of it with many modifications each time he revises it. I mean, we're gonna hear more from Eric Adams once he loses the mayoral election, but part of his reputation is going to be just being a shameless sleazebag with everything he does. He stops at nothing to try and win this election back over, whether it be going to Donald Trump, going out to other municipalities where New York City voters don't even live, laundering money to his campaign through straw donors, trying to bribe reporters. There's really no boundaries. When is the famous line going to come up, by the way? Leave the chips, take the money, right? It's like Clemenza in The Godfather. Leave the gun, take the cannolis. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. This is like a mafia movie with the Adams administration.
That's why my theme for them is Layla, the song Layla by Eric Clapton. Because if you remember the movie Goodfellas, that song was playing when everyone gets indicted and they start, clipping people left and right, and you see people showing up dead in the back of a truck because of Lufthansa heist. Well, that's the song for this. You see people getting indicted, carted out. You see Eric Adams walking out to the courthouse. Play the song Layla, put all these clips together. It's the same thing as the Goodfellas. And then you hear at the end, Ray Liotta says it's all about the money, and then he goes, and it's all over. It's all over now. Remember, he was in the courtroom saying that. Same scene here. It's just with these people. And you like, how can this be true? But it is. I mean, Special Hagen says it best. I don't think he cares. He does what he wants and doesn't believe he should be held accountable for anything. It is. And he's the most corrupt politician in America.
Some Eric Clapton for those of you who wanted to. This is him performing the famous song that we were just discussing at a concert years ago. He's one of the legends, one of the best to ever do it. Hopefully, like with Zoran Mamdani, he's the front runner right now. He's taking inventory here. I know Jim Walden has proposed this in the past about having an independent agency that oversees the mayor's office. We've proposed the possibility here on The Finest Unfiltered about electing city officials for various branches, the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, chief of department, all that good stuff. There needs to be some sort of oversight so there's guardrails in place with the mayor's office. And the mayor just can't run all over town like some drunk sheriff from the 1800s. No, like Eric Adams epitomizes what it means to be like a drunk sheriff running a crazy town, yet he's in New York City in 2025 with social media documenting his every move. So the number of terrible appointments that he's made, the people he's surrounded himself with, it's a criminal enterprise and it needs to be exposed for what it is. while trying to figure out how to prevent this from ever happening going forward, because the people of New York City deserve a whole lot better. And more importantly, the businesses there, many of whom have fled. We have covered extensively the $9 billion that has moved from New York City to South Florida recently. The businesses that need to stay there to sustain the city's economy, none of them are going to want to stay when there's this type of dysfunction within city government, because local city government is the foundation of having functionality in a city. So when there's dysfunction, it's impossible. The Adams administration has made it impossible to operate for everyone, whether you're a city employee, a resident, a business owner. The one commonality among Eric Adams's behavior is that he only cares about himself and his friends, and he's just going to benefit them and say screw you to the rest of the normal, average, everyday citizens walking on the street.
Yeah. And, we love ending the show with the wonderful words of wisdom from Eric Adams, and you're going to get that in a little bit. Here, Special Hagen said, Honan is the same report that Phil Banks went on about her Buell stinking. They are bullies and they're reckless. Yeah, they are. They are reckless. This is absolutely criminal what happened yesterday. It's like just I don't know what to say. I am stunned. That was like the I guess the appetizer to what we had today with the full course meal with Mark. I commend Marc Fishman. That guy is a true patriot fighting for disability rights, and it kind of falls in line with what we're talking about. It's all corrupt. It doesn't matter if it's Westchester, New York City, New York State. It needs an enema. Sorry, that's what it needs. You need to just everybody there has to get voted out. Everybody, you need a whole new influx of people. Sorry, and you need to go in and investigate people. Finally, on that final note, tomorrow night I will be at Lone Depot Park to see the Miami Marlins play the Blue Jays, which ought to be interesting. It's always a fun time to just go to the baseball game, have a little bit of cappuccino, cafecito, cortadito, sit there and have fun. I love that stadium. I know the season's winding down next month, but also highlights coming back. So at least we'll have that in Miami, out here in South Florida. So see the Marlins at the game. Hopefully the Mets win today. Who knows? The Mets I don't know what's going on there. But I'll be at the game tomorrow and kind of put my head away from this kind of stuff, because this is just mind-boggling. Yeah. Felicia says, facts out, clean house. New York State, clean house. So with that being said, tomorrow, 8:05 live, Finance Unfiltered, Roundtable, John and Eric and Marlon. We'll see who else comes on. I don't know if I can, but this is going to be very interesting what's going to be spoken about, because who knows from now till then what else the Eric Adams administration will be up to, what else the New York City Police Department will be up to. Who knows? This is like a wait-and-see approach. We're all like this, but we're saying we know something bad is going to happen, something corrupt. Also, if you can, check out yesterday's episode with the Executive Perspective with Ron and Rob. They had a detective on there, a second grader from ESU. Great guy. Shout out to that show, because it was a great show. So you can check that out every Wednesday, 5:05 Eastern, 17:05 Eastern, or watch the replays. And, of course, the 10-4 Tavern, which is on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. You can watch that on replay also. Pete and Tom always bringing you great guests. But that's it here, folks. It was a long show, but things needed to be known that weren't known previously. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you all. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Let's go Mets. Let's go Marlins also. And let's bring on the highlight. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Don't be taking envelopes that are inside of potato chip bags. If you do see that, do notify the authorities. And that's it from South Florida, because as you know, it's a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?